and welcome back. My name is V, and today I would like to talk about two games that I got to play this year that have their flaws, that have some very good things about them. One of the games I'm very biased about, as that is right now my favorite game of all time. And since they are both Atlas games, I want to make a little bit of a comparison and talk about which game does it better when it comes to some of the aspects of the two games. So we're going to be talking about Persona 3 Reload and Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. As a disclaimer, I am currently playing through the DLC of Persona 3 Reload, which you can find here on the channel as well, and I'm not fully done with it. So some of these things that I'm going to say in this video might be different once I'm done with all of these games, but I think that for now I can paint a pretty clear picture to myself of what I like and what I dislike about these games. As per Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, I am in the last few stages of finishing the new route, and I am so far pretty happy with the game, but I put a little bit of a pause on it when it comes to streaming, as I'm pretty busy with finishing Persona 4 Golden and the Persona 3 Reload DLC as well. If you happen to be new here on the channel and you are a fan of either one of these games, or Persona games in general, or Atlas games in general, make sure to press that sub button and leave the video a like. Trust me, it does help. So when it comes to storytelling, I find this to be one of the most important things for a JRPG, and I'd like to comment on this first. So in my opinion, and yes, I'm biased, but I also think that there are some objective reasons for this. I do think that Persona 3 Reload has a better storytelling than Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. Shin Megami Tensei 5 in general had a story that wasn't quite fleshed out. Now, as another disclaimer, I did not get to play the original, but I've looked into the game quite a bit before starting with Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, and I had really high hopes that the game would essentially have this fleshed out story that is very easy to understand. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of cutscenes, plenty of explanations, and a lot of things going on in the game that really paint a picture of who these, I don't want to say people are, but I also don't want to say any spoilers, as I did promise a spoiler safe video. I do think that Persona 3 Reload has a fantastic storytelling that doesn't grip you 10 hours into the game, 15 or 20 hours into the game. It grips you immediately. You immediately know what's up, and you are just dying to see what's going to happen in your next playthrough. And you also feel like you get a little bit of that rest, as each full moon is essentially your very important date, after which you get a little bit of a break to work on your social links, and it just overall feels like an actual school year, but also the end of the world adventure, which essentially what Persona is. But with Shin Megami Tensei, I feel like the story is a little bit less relatable, obviously, because, you know, demigods, gods, and all these things is very abstract, and I felt like I couldn't understand the story as well as I should have, because I lack, at the end of the day, some of the biblical knowledge to understand these relationships between angels and archangels and whatnot. And my community really helped me with that. I have some awesome members of the community who really went out of their way to describe and explain some of these references and why things are the way they are, and I'm just very grateful for that, because I'm currently having a really good experience with the chat helping me understand the game. But the fact that I do need help with understanding the story on my first playthrough makes me really lean towards my favorite game as my choice for who does it better when it comes to storytelling. When it comes to the music, I have to say again that Persona 3 Reload definitely does it better. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance has some incredible soundtracks, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I heard them once, and if I heard them again, I don't think that I would remember which game they are coming from, which is kind of unfortunate, which is not the case with Persona. With Persona 3 Reload, every soundtrack that I would hear, I would sit like this. and I would just listen to the soundtrack and really enjoy myself, and I would know that that sound came from Persona 3 next time that I heard it. It left such a huge impression on me, and it keeps leaving this impression on me every single time I enter a zone or I enter combat, because I literally just sit there and I dance to these tunes. And I have to say that I haven't played a game that gripped me more with the soundtrack in a very long time. So I think that when it comes to music, Persona 3 Reload definitely takes the cake. Now, when it comes to combat, I think that this is something that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance does do better, and this is a very painful thing for me to say as someone who's a huge fan of Persona 3 Reload. The reason for this is simply because of challenge. So for context, I'm playing Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance on normal mode. I got feedback from my chat who was already familiar with Shin Megami Tensei 5 in its original state, and everybody pretty much said that normal mode would be punishing enough as it is, which I think is true at the end of the day, because the game heavily focuses on combat. It is its forte, and if you like challenge, I think that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is definitely a game for you, because it has so many tweaks and you just go into the combat basically ready to die until you figure out what the boss is about. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. When it comes to Persona games in general, and Persona 3 Reload as well, even when you're playing on hard mode, it just comes down to understanding which attacks the boss is going to do and what elemental resistance or vulnerability they have. And I think that even on hard mode, it is very easy to exploit these vulnerabilities, because all you need to do is basically die once and just equip the right persona with an attack that will help you get an all-out attack, which for those of you who don't play Persona 3 Reload in general is kind of like a group limit break damage that just does a massive damage to the boss. So once you have the boss figured out, once you know which spells you need to just guard from and what elemental weakness you need to exploit, the game becomes very easy, and I find that a little less than satisfying. When it comes to artwork, this is a very difficult thing for me to talk about, because I think that both games are gorgeous in their own way, and I think that this is one of the things where I just can't say who does it better, because they have such a different art style, and I'm a huge appreciator of games that look really pretty. For me, Persona 3 Reload looks magnificent. I really like the art style, and I think that everything about it just looks really nice. I like the color scheme. I think Tartarus is glorious, and some of the floors on Tartarus just left me stunned with how pretty they are. And I think that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance has a little bit of a different art style. They don't look like they're hand-drawn. Obviously, they have their 3D models, and the animations are nice. Everything is just really pretty. So I think that both games, if you're looking for games that are artistically pleasing, are something that you might want to check out if other things are not as important to you. However, when it comes to the zones, I do think that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance has really outdone itself in this case, because Shin Megami Tensei has zones, and Persona 3 Reload, even though it does have a few cities that I do adore with all my heart, it's not an exploration game. And I think that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance here has a huge advantage, as the point of the game is for you to go around and explore. And the fact that in Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance you can just look up and see these amazing structures in the sky, that you can go from zone to zone and see shades of of red and purple and yellow and just all these amazing zones that all look different, I think it gives a huge advantage to SMT5 as a game with more beautiful and more stunning zones. And this is probably something that I should have talked at the very beginning when I started talking about storytelling, but I can't not talk about the cast and the characters and the voice acting in general. I know I'm biased because I do love Persona 3 Reload, but I really do think that P3R has a fantastic cast and definitely more memorable than SMT5. There are some moments in SMT5 that really make you feel for some of the characters, but I feel like the character growth, the dialogue, and everything that has anything to do with their little stories and social links and even redemption arcs is said a lot better in P3R than SMT5. SMT5 is amazing in its own way, but I feel like the story is unrelatable to the point that you feel like an outsider looking into the lives of these people who have things that are happening to them that you will never experience. Which with Persona 3 Reload, even though Persona 3 has elements of fantasy, they are definitely more relatable because of these normal things that happen to them as well. And I'm not saying that that gives the characters the advantage, as not every game needs to be relatable, but I think that the stories of these characters are just set in a much better and a more immersive way. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about when it comes to this little comparison between Persona 3 Reload and SMT5 Vengeance. What are your thoughts? Have you gotten to play P3R or SMT5? Let me know below, and if you liked the video, make sure to press that thumbs up to feed those algorithm deities. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'm currently playing through Persona 3 Reload DLC, The Answer, and I am in the last stages of playing through Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, so if you're into any of these games, make sure to stick around. I'll see you in my next video. Have a good one, and bye bye.